good to go.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Team. I hope you see how many new faces, so we'll skip over introductions. Our first presentation this morning is our financial reports. Deborah's joining us this morning. And she'll be joining us every month thereafter as part of our new reporting. So one of the things that we've been talking about as part of our restructuring and strategic plan implementation is having more regular financial reporting at a variety of levels. At the October 6th work session with the board and the budget committee last month, the board affirmed that they wanted to have financial report outs every month, so we're going to do that at the Wednesday board meeting, generally the first Wednesday of the month, so there's one this Wednesday, and then also a leadership team. At the October 6th work session, Deborah spent an hour going over all of our financials at a high level and highlighting highlights, describing how funds work, what are some take-home points, with the goal of educating everyone so we're regularly talking this language, having budget discussions, everybody knows what we're talking about. And so we will be doing this regularly. Deborah's not going to go through it in an hour today. She's created some summaries of the full packet that was shared on October 6th, but if you wanted to do a deeper dive into those materials, refer back to that October 6th. And then the packets are printed out here. They were sent out, and also the agenda too.
Okay, I'm gonna try to go through this pretty quickly. So we're gonna start on page 2. This is the budget to actual summary of last fiscal year and our performance. Let everybody get that one. So last fiscal year, we ended with a $100,000 increase to our ending fund balance. What did that include, and how did we get from a $7.5 million budgeted ending fund balance to an $11.3 actual ending fund balance? On this chart, left to right, this is a waterfall chart. Blue bar graph on the left is what we budgeted our ending fund balance to be. In between is what actually happened throughout the year, and the orange at the far right is our actual ending fund balance. So in fiscal year 24-25, we had a deficit of timber revenue, $500,000 under our budgeted amount. We had a $1.9 million underspend in salary and benefits that was related to a 10% vacancy rate. That's an average vacancy rate. We offloaded $700,000 of general fund materials and services and capital to ARPA fund. We underspent another $1.7 million, that's including the ARPA amount, in materials and services and capital outlay. And we had a $1.2 million transfer in from our revenue stabilization as budgeted. So ARPA and revenue stabilization transfers are one-time offsets. If we consider recurring operations, the general fund would have had a $1.3 million operating loss in last fiscal year.
So this looks like good news, but it actually isn't.
Right, so if we were to look at that revenue stabilization fund on top of general fund and combine those two, since that revenue stabilization is a one-time, not gonna get more funds unless we put them into it. Yep, right. Property tax, so now the next pages are major categories within the general fund. We're gonna go from in revenue and expense statement order, revenues to personnel, to materials and services, capital outlay, and then ending fund balance. So property tax is the county's most stable and predictable general fund source and equates to around 37% of average actual revenue over the last 17 years. So chart 2 reflects its stability, showing only 1 year that did not meet budgeted levels. Revenues grew at around 3.8% year over year for the entire 17-year period. It is very stable. As you can see in the chart 2, it just climbs, right? The 3.8% increase last year equated to $493,000 more in revenue for the prior year. On to the next, timber revenue. This averages around 23% of the general fund revenue, but comes with multi-million-dollar swings in receipts year to year. timber revenue swings can be seen in the blue actual revenue line in chart 1, equating to budget shortfalls historically in chart 2. So as we see the blue line dip in chart 1, you're gonna see that there's a red deficit line to budgeted in chart 2. Policy guardrails can help guide us through identifying high revenue years as one-time and directed to appropriate one-time uses. They could also have a plan to offset the shortfall years as well. Okay, on to other revenue. This is a large catch-all category. It includes everything from fees, grants, interest, fines, transfers, and miscellaneous revenue sources. So most revenue lines are consistent year to year, but totals can swing 1 to 2 million annually due to changes in external funding, interest rates, and one-time transfers. Fiscal year ending 2021, if we look at the chart, we see this huge bump up in 2021. All of that can be traced back to COVID relief funding and is a one-time anomaly. So if we kind of ignore that bump, you can see it's a steady increase in our revenue streams throughout those. We do see a plateau in a lot of the revenue streams between 24 and 25. In interest, you'll see that especially. Interest is a derivative of the large markets and economy. It has been at a steep rise beginning in 2021 through 2024, but we are now seeing that flattening in 2025. Okay, on to personnel. So now we're in the expense categories. Personnel services average 71% of our actual expenditures in the general fund. So that is, we are right in the middle of all of our neighbors, 71%. Clatsop has 72%. Marion County, I think it was, had 50-something, 65%. For fiscal year end 25, our budgeted personnel was 134 FTE. We averaged 120 FTE, which equated to a 10% vacancy rate and a $1.9 million underspend. Chart 1 shows budgeted versus actual FTEs. We see the great resignation of 21-22, where our blue actual line drops to about 112 FTE average. And then since we've been on a rebound, reaching 120 average FTE in fiscal year 24 and 25. So we've plateaued from that rebound between 24 and 25. Chart 2 shows personal costs budgeted to actual. We can see the parallel lines between fiscal year 24-25 shows a stagnation at around 10% vacancies. Okay, over to materials and services. This is 21% of our average general fund spending. Its compound annual growth rate, or year over year over a time period, is 5.7% increase. Its top 3 drivers are contracted services, 1.1 billion in fiscal year end 25, influenced by one-time grant funding, contracted services of around 4. So in that 1.1 million, we had 400,000 in one-time grant funded contracts as well. So if you see that steep blue line increase in contracted services, a lot of that has to do with one-time grant funding. Insurances and deductibles is our next top driver at 779,000 last fiscal year, and computers and software and licensing is our next at 432,000. Okay, capital outlay. So for this review, we're pulling in not only the general fund but also building improvement and vehicle reserve fund. Those are our other capital funds. It averages only 2% of general fund expenditures on average. General fund transfers to our capital funds, our building improvement and vehicle reserve, have not exceeded 500,000 in any fiscal year to support capital investments, as you can see in chart 1. Chart 2, which is on page 9, if you flip it over, capital outlay expenditures have little consistency year over year, but have never been above 400,000 in a single year. Chart 3 shows a 17-year cumulative general fund capital funding, meaning the money that the general fund has put into our capital investments, which over 17 years has equated to 3.5 million, compared to recent capital needs assessment of 13 million. So you can see that comparison in chart 3. Okay, on to contingency. Contingency is used for unforeseen or unknown expenses such as collective bargaining agreement changes, personal cost increases, or other minor revenue shortfalls. Contingency movement through budget adjustments happens throughout a fiscal year. Budget adjustments to move contingency to departments, so this is how contingency works. It's all in the budgeted amount. If we put more into contingency, that means we're pulling away from departmental spending authority. If we move out of contingency or decrease the contingency amount, that means we're increasing department spending authority. So if we look at the chart, keep that in mind. Increasing contingency happened 5 times in the last 17 years. Decreasing contingency or increase in departmental spending has happened every year except last year.
And that was the vacancies that.
The 921,000 pullback was the vacancies. Okay. That's what I have for contingency. Revenue stabilization. This is the budget reserve used to address deficits and economic downturns. It is a special revenue fund outside of the general fund, managed through county's annual budget process. Chart 1 shows the balance and use of revenue stabilization over the past 17 years. Notably, we're expected to end at a 17-year low this fiscal year at 1.1 million. This is less than we transferred to support general fund operations in the last year and what we plan to transfer this fiscal year. The chart also shows that over the 17 years, we've only touched the revenue stabilization fund 5 times, twice to transfer money into the revenue stabilization fund, and 3 times, twice that we've actually pulled out of the revenue stabilization fund, and this year planned. Okay.
And when we transferred in, it was that timber years.
Those were our, 19, 20, 2021 was our $6 and $7 million timber years. Beginning fund balance. This is the cumulative financial position of the county's general fund carried forward into each fiscal year. It is the result of planned cash flow needs in each fiscal year's operations rolling forward. Its major influences are timber revenue. With millions in year-to-year swings, the ups and downs of timber revenue have a direct impact to beginning fund balance. Last year's beginning fund balance influence was negative $500,000 due to our deficit in timber revenue. The next major influence is personnel budget to actual variance. This is driven primarily by vacancies that lead to underspending. Last year's beginning fund balance influence was positive 1.9 million or 15% of the beginning fund balance for this fiscal year. Chart 1 overlays the beginning fund balance with timber and personnel variances as well as the revenues stabilization transfers in. As you can see, the yellow line, which is our beginning fund balance, 1 year after the green line goes up, that yellow line goes up. That's because it's ending fund balance rolling into beginning fund balance. So you can clearly see the influence that timber has on our beginning fund balance. Overlay that with our personnel budget to actual variance, and you can see that we've averaged at least $300,000 minimum and upwards of $2 million throughout the last 8 years. And finally, that purple line at the bottom is our revenue stabilization transfer in, used to offset our timber revenue shortfall. And if we had that next beginning fund balance amount, we would see that the timber shortfall would not be as prevalent in the movement of our beginning fund balance because of that transfer. Okay, the quarterly forecast. So we've gone through everything of all of our major categories. This all gets included and is influencing our quarterly forecast. The dates at the bottom of the chart are the first day of each quarter being forecasted. We can clearly see a cash flow cycle. So if you see the ups and downs, those peaks are quarter 2 when we get our tax revenue in. The lowest point is typically our quarter 1, which is July, before we get our tax money the next year. So that's called a cash flow cycle. So the dips below recommended ending fund balance, what I just pointed out, quarter one of each year, are expected. This is what we plan for each year by keeping minimum ending fund balance in quarter four. That is why quarter four is really where we need to focus our attention. It forecasts what the ending fund balance for the year that we will be able to budget against the following fiscal year. For this reason, quarter four dots have been color coded for quick reference. Green is in good shape, yellow is in risk territory, and red is below recommended ending fund balance levels. Starting with last quarter, fiscal year end 25 quarter four, we landed right where we were expected at 11.5 million. That's without liabilities, 11.3 million with our liabilities included, which again included a revenue stabilization transfer, ARPA offsets, timber shortfall, and 10% vacancies. So our average gap as we move along this and combine it into an annual amount is $2 to $3 million, and this includes a couple of capital projects. It includes the courthouse roof and HVAC and the jail HVAC systems. And those are in 25-26 and 27-28 spending forecasts. This chart also includes a revenue stabilization transfer in 25-26. It includes compensation adjustments in 25-26, as well as planned retirement savings throughout the chart, vacancy rate savings throughout, and parks transfer annually, as well as 3% CPI in the first year. So as we move along, we can see that in this first year, we have plugged our gaps. We're forecasted to end in the green territory in quarter four. As we move out a year, we get down into risk territory, and again, we have all those inclusions in there. And then as we get out into 4/1/2028, we reached red, just below our minimum ending fund balance, which is what we balance our budget on for that following year.
One of the things that we're trying to highlight here is we've just been so reactionary in our budgeting, is we don't have a cliff. And we have time as we see trends to adjust. And so that's the culture that we're trying to shift here. In part.
Right, as we see, we plugged $1 million, $2.2 million in this. So we do have time and we have ideas. Now we need the timeline to implement, right?
This was, when I saw this chart at the presentation of the budget workshop, this was very helpful to me. Just the entire package of information was very helpful, but this in particular brought it all together to show me how if we don't, the parks transfer, for example, we assume that will be ongoing because it makes sense and it works for parks and for the general fund, etc. But we learned a few slides ago that we can't continue to transfer from the budget stabilization fund because we're running out. So that's short-sighted. So if we don't make up that revenue, then we'll run in the red. And Rachel just said we don't have a cliff, which makes me happy to hear that. But it feels like a cliff. It feels like if we don't regenerate, come up with some other form of revenue to make up for the loss in the revenue stabilization fund by the spring of 2028, maybe we're at the fence of the cliff. We're in serious trouble if we don't find that revenue.
So as we get into that, and I think Mike Gleason mentioned it a little bit, there are alternative options to relying on that ending fund balance. They aren't permanent, but it gives us more time throughout. But that would be a policy that we would need to look at as we move forward. So
yeah, he did talk about borrowing, but it's a short-term loan that we need to know we could repay. And I hadn't heard of that option before, so that was I was glad to know there was something there, but it's kind of very serious. The last choice option.
It's something that we can take into consideration as we move, though. Another tool in the toolbox.
Yeah.
So that we know we have a safety net, kind of, to get us through as we're working on all these moving pieces.
Thank you, Deborah. Questions for Deborah?
This was great, Deborah, thank you, and the fuller presentation at the budget workshop was also great. Do we have the audio recording of that? Because Deborah was first, if you wanna hear the full thing, if we have the
Yeah, it's on, the civic clerk meeting.
perfect, so Deborah was first, and she might have been the first hour, and it was well worth our time, so you could look for it there.
Thank you.
Yeah, just like, thank you, good job. I mean, I've always said a couple years ago, I was like, I don't know what the hell Deborah's saying. And a lot of these things, it was confusing in the last couple of presentations. The way your delivery is, it makes it clear and I understand, so thank you.
And the repetition's gonna help with that too.
So what's next and what is our role as department head?
I can hit on that a little bit when I get to my updates on the outcome of the office. That's a great question.
It is, and we recently talked about having departments need to get permission in order to overspend. So, you know, the slide where she was talking about when there are overspends and the money comes out of contingency to pay for that. In order to slow that roll, we recently decided that departments need to get permission to overspend, which just will make the process more thoughtful. So that's something all departments can participate in. And also, you know, I haven't done a deep dive into contract services, but obviously that's very high. So we can all look at that, all of us.
And the getting the permission to overspend, that's not it's not official yet, but it's what we're gonna be working on for a board order that the board should be considering this month. Okay, thank you, Deborah. Feel free to stick around if you would like. Okay, Brandy, the AI policy.
So I asked everybody to go ahead and take a look at the policy. I got some feedback, but not, it wasn't a whole lot. So there's minimal changes to the actual document. There is one big change. So the changes were really on page 4 and page 5. Page 5 was just more of an error. It was referencing a number point that we didn't have on the document. So it's fixing that. And then the changes are actually just going to be under 7.4, the authorized AI tools. I went through the policy and I wanted to make sure that when you're looking at the policy and you're following it, you can actually follow it. We had Gemini, right? Which is reasonable. We had Gemini as an authorized AI tool initially. I have removed Gemini because you cannot use your Tacoma County email address to sign up for a Gemini account. Gemini runs off of the same GPT as Copilot or ChatGPT, so we're not really missing out on too much there. And then I just changed the wording for Copilot chat. It was originally just Copilot with Microsoft. Microsoft offers Microsoft 365 Copilot and then Microsoft 365 Copilot chat. We're not quite in the place to offer Microsoft 365 Copilot. That's the integration with all of your Microsoft apps. So we'll be focusing on getting people trained in using the chat feature. So, if there's any questions, let me know. But we're hoping to get this adopted and have the board review.
Can you speak a little bit more about the ideas we've been talking about for training?
Yeah.
for staff?
Yeah, we'd like to, so we'll roll out a 1 to 2 page like how to, so that you can get started. So the county's has an idea of where they can start implementing some of these tools. I would like to ask leaders to look at their department and see who a co-pilot or AI champion might be in their department. I'd like to create a team on Microsoft Teams and gather those champions. And just ask them how they might be using AI, how they might be using it for work. And we can start getting an idea of how the county as a whole could benefit from using AI and how they're currently using it. So, and then we can create a more formal training based off of that.
Great idea.
Marlene, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I sent it out too. Thanks, Brandy, to managers just for comment to see if they had any thoughts within the department. And I think it was more just to ensure that with what we are using with the contract that's kind of under development with Dax Copilot for Ocean Epic, if we just need to keep you all informed in IT of what's happening. It's within that separate module that we use, along with any changes in our record keeping system that occurs through Epic also, since those are features that are already built in and we opt into those. So I just wanted to make sure like that I understand how that's going to work, since it's not really managed by the county. And maybe others have a similar situation with the portal or access to an exterior documents or systems.
Yeah, if we could be kept in the loop, you could just let me know if I can be of assistance at any meetings that you're attending regarding that tool. I'm assuming this is with the community health accounts.
Yes, it's with our contracts, and it does include, obviously, because it's electronic medical records, so it's PHI and HIPAA compliant, and there is an oversight with Ocean Epic as an approved FQHC national system. So we can keep you involved in that part, and then the other changes that are coming up to records, systems, and other documentations for efficiencies as things happen. There's a lot rolling out this next year.
That would be fantastic. And we can make sure we're aligned with what you guys are doing as well.
Okay, thank you.
That's my question. So everything nowadays, every program has something in it that they say is Lisa, are we gonna have to make a presentation to you to change this policy each time of my records management if they wanna do an IA or AI component?
That's something definitely to consider. I think as far as software goes in general, anybody will wanna come to IS first so that we can, because you never know, there might be another tool that we already have implemented. But I also see a lot of people use the word AI, or companies use AI when maybe what it really is just automation. So just getting to do technical overview with the vendor, that would be helpful, and we can see how it's being integrated. Because generative AI is a little different than automation, so. And then we just wanna make sure that these companies are not taking the data and selling it or training their models on our data.
It does say in 7.4, I think IS will have authorization to add beyond this. It says, if there's an AI tool that you would like to use, but it's not on the list, contact IS, so they can review and approve it.
Randy, do you see a time when AI tools are not really opt-in, that they're just gonna be kind of baked into the cake and operating in the background on, whatever program or platform you might be using?
I think we're going to see quite a bit of software just pop up with like, oh, hey, now you have AI.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of moving in that direction,
Yeah,
so.
but as long as we'll have to be able to work really well with those vendors to be like, these are our regulations with our data. And we need to make sure we're following that, so it might be that we need to keep a close eye, opt out with those.
Don?
Hey, thanks for putting this policy together. And I just had one quick question, which is if one of the approved AI tools is used as the basis for another tool that we're using, is that approved as well? And the example I would give is Canva uses ChatGPT as the underlying AI support. So I'm assuming since ChatGPT is okay, that using it through Canva would be okay. But I wanted to verify that.
You probably just wanna make sure how it's being used. It's just the application of the tool. I'm not familiar with Canva. Is that just the image?
Yeah, it's a marketing tool used for creating posters and other graphic peripherals.
Yeah, we'd probably just wanna, take a look at that as well. I don't think it would take. We probably don't need to do a super deep dive, but it's just how we use the tool.
Okay, I can send you more info.
Perfect, that sounds great.
I don't recognize Grammarly. What's Grammarly?
So Grammarly is it's like a spell check and a grammar check tool. And they recently, in more recent times, have integrated generative AI, so you could highlight a paragraph or a document, and it can reword it for you in a more concise way. You can set the tone. I use this tool with my school. I don't know that the Grammarly free version is very great. I've tried using it and it's like, they're begging you to pay them some money,
It's
so,
basically a spell check, the free version.
yeah, so. Grammarly is actually pretty cool, so.
That's great. I had a fun recent experience with AI, not directly but indirectly, in that my brother is a writer. He's been writing humorous essays, which are totally charming, but he's a sloppy writer. And so he sends them to me to edit, which I'm willing to do because I love him. But it takes a little time. And recently, he sent his latest essay to ChatGPT, and it edited it beautifully. And I thought, I am off the hook.
You are done.
It did a great job, and it didn't change his words; it just cleaned it up. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it's crazy, what you can get ChatGPT or Copilot to do just to improve your work. So I'm really excited for this, and I think the county's really gonna benefit from getting to use some AI tools.
Oh, I think so too. And not everyone is skilled at policy writing, for example. I'm super interested in AI for policy writing, just because it's a singular skill, and a lot of our policies need to be updated. So I think there's great potential.
Yeah, and even just freeing up the workload there.
Yes.
How many hours spent,
Yes.
it'd be worthwhile to eventually start tracking how many hours we're
Yeah.
saving.
And I was thinking about it in regards to the budget, the opportunity to use AI for some of the things we use contract services for now. Like, what if someday in the near future we could use AI to do our personnel comparators, to do the
It's in the list.
that's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very exciting, so.
Yeah, and there's recruiting, you can
Yes.
do, it can screen it can screen applications and
Yeah.
have candidates right to the top.
Yeah. So it can save us money and be that much more efficient. Awesome. Thank you for your work.
Okay, any questions for Brandy? Okay, on to the central services work plan. Going through the highlights, we are still in bargaining, Mary Jo and I have reviewed the preliminary draft of the non-rep Teamsters part-time elected final report. Those are all in one report now. and recommendations, and we expect to have a final draft this week. And then we will coordinate, we can't talk about that information with the board in executive session, so we're aligning that with, bargaining. So we have 2 scheduled bargaining sessions with AFSCME in November. One is this Wednesday, and the other is the end of the month. We are still going through Teamsters bargaining with the sergeants. The employee manual, we're so close. It's up like 90 pages. It's really big, and so every time we go through and review it, there's just a few more things that we need to adjust. But I am hopeful to get that out next week to the leadership team. Don't hold me to it, but that's my goal. Emergency.
AI in the future.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Emergency preparedness, thank you all for reviewing. We did the your updated contacts for the leadership team list. That is gonna be used to provide to Randy so he can make sure our Nixle information is updated in our reporting during storms or other emergencies, the way we communicate with leaders. Mackenzie's also working on updating the manager's list, and then once that's done, we will, and Randy's got his updates done, I'll send out an update to everyone regarding updated protocols and just affirming what we do in certain situations. HR manager, so if anyone saw the agenda posted Friday, you probably saw a personnel requisition for an HR manager. So, I'm sure you're all familiar with our difficulty in retaining, recruiting human resources directors. It has been in my tenure going on 11 years here, and someone in person. And so after Thea's departure earlier this summer, I went back to the drawing board, similarly with what happened with the IS department, and started thinking about other ways that we can meet the needs of the county, because we just have not been successful. And with all of the critical high priority work that was going on, I was just concerned about going out for another recruitment and doing it all over again. So after a lot of thinking about what our needs are, where we're headed, our restructuring with central services, talking with the HR staff, where I landed was the concept of promoting Mackenzie to HR manager. Again, similar to IS, with one difference being, we are going to undergo more of a training plan for Mackenzie. There's a lot of different pieces in HR that she will be charged with as the HR manager, and this would forego the HR director position indefinitely. She is killing it in HR. She is just such a rock for that department, and
She's really great to work with.
she's a delight to work with.
Yeah.
Her positive demeanor. I could go on and on, but I think she is an amazing fit for this role. I think she's going to be here for the long haul, and I am very excited to invest in her and just keep having her grow in her role. And so in the short term, she's going to start doing some targeted training with Troop. She's going to be shadowing Mary Jo and I in different capacities that is needed for that role ultimately. For right now, for you all, it's business as usual. Her title isn't going to change. You just may see more of her doing other things. So I'll probably have her start coming to leadership team meetings and things like that, and continuing to give her more independence and authority and leadership over the different things that she's working on, which she has just continued to do in my time working with her. The training plan is going to take over a year, with targeted modules, if you will, and targets of the HR discipline. Her title will change, and I will no longer be the interim HR director in April, is our goal. So right now it's business as usual, continue doing everything that you would do with reaching out to me or Mackenzie. And then as we get closer to April, we'll start, assuming this continues forward, as the training progresses, and we'll talk more about that transition as we get closer to April. Obviously, this is a pretty large savings for the general fund as well. We've had a savings because we haven't had a director, and then we will have a smaller savings with the manager position as well. And then got some ideas on the back burner of, once we get on the other side of this, we have some vendors we're looking at for an HR audit, like we've done with legal, like we've done with the treasurer's office, like we're exploring with information services. And so, after the first of the year, we'll look again at the HR department and see, do we have the staffing that we need? How is this working? So, more to come there, some ideas in the mix, questions.
I think this is exciting. I'm really happy that we're investing in people to grow in their jobs, to grow into their full potential, and you know, the whole growing your own recruitment is really forward thinking, and I particularly appreciate that we're investing in training people, getting people whatever they need in order to continue to grow. So I just think it's great.
Full support.
Right. Okay, moving down the list, Brian Libel is our new county council. His start date is January 5th. What that means for Bill and Joel is,
I asked the Crook County clerk, I said, so what do you know about him? She goes, oh my gosh, he's amazing.
Oh,
She said,
good.
he helped her with a very contentious like land issue and stuff. And so anyway, she said, gave him the statutes, he came back to her. It's like, she goes, he is a delight to work with. And she said he's such a good team player. And so I was like excited to hear that.
Great.
Yeah.
that's
So
the feeling
I just
we got
thought
from the
I would
interview,
just
so that's
plug
good.
that. Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So next month we'll begin a more targeted transition. So Bill's contract will sunset at the end of December, and Joel, once Brian comes on board January 5th, he will transition to a 20-hour-a-week employee. So, but Brian will be our lead, and so in December we'll start, you know, if we have outstanding contracts with Joel or projects with Bill or Joel, we'll start talking about, you know, maybe where that should land. So more to come there, but be thinking about, if you are working with Bill on things, should that go to Brian or should that go to Joel, or maybe that's Brian's decision to decide when he gets here. So that is exciting. And he does plan to be here in person 5 days a week. He lives in West Lynn. He's hoping to get a place here that he stays at during the week, but he does have family commitments. We've talked about, you know, maybe Fridays, it's a half day, he works longer during the week, but his goal is to be here. It is very important to him and the culture and having the pulse on the organization, so that's his goal.
One thing I want folks to know that I was super encouraged about is that he and Joel work together as JAGs, and Joel highly recommended him. So I'm excited for that dynamic of them working together.
Yeah. And similarly, I think I know that relationship was a big part of Brian's decision making, that he had Joel here.
Nice.
Thanks, Joel. On information services, so we talked about the AI policy. Got a thumbs up from Joel. Brandy, if you could just highlight where we are with the customer survey and the Computer Ops Tech 1 recruitment.
So for the customer survey, we pulled out our main themes and takeaways, and I developed some recommendations. And I'm gonna bring that to the team, and they can digest some of the recommendations, they can make some recommendations based on that feedback, and then I'll be sharing both the survey results and the proposed next steps with you guys all next month. And then for the Computer Ops Tech 1 recruitment, I've done some observations and just talking with the team and getting feedback from the county. The help desk specialist position is really more of an administrative role. It took on a lot of the invoicing calls, kind of the basic like, hey, here's a ticket, assigning things. And what we found is that we really just need more bandwidth, that technical bandwidth on our team, so that we can properly take care of the county and what the county needs. And I'm hoping that this will help strengthen his ability to take on more of that technical work. So with that, I'll be submitting that to the board to take a look at the budget implications and what we need for that, but yeah, if there's any questions about that, let me know, but.
And the help desk position, we've already gone through bargaining on this, is officially retired. So we
Okay.
that is out of the pay tables
Okay.
and we will just have another computer tech once.
Okay.
That's right.
I didn't realize that that position was administrative, wasn't technical, so seems totally logical to me.
Okay, questions on that? Alright, facilities, the courthouse space needs assessment, it's been done for a few weeks, but we just received the final report, so you all should have received that last week. Implementing the space needs assessment, so we are moving full speed ahead on the acquisition of the BLM property, we have the inspection done, the building inspection done, no red flags there, thank you to Chris for helping connect on who can assist with that. So right now, my primary focus is on the financing package, and so we'll be meeting with the board soon about that. And then, the Oregon Judicial Department / Association of Oregon Counties Court Facilities Task Force is convening again in preparation for submission to the state's biennium budget requests, and we're gonna be submitting for the ADA access on the south entrance for that, and that is due in early December.
For BLM, what else, other than the financing package, what else is outstanding for the due diligence? The parking study?
No, I talked to the attorney about the traffic analysis and we didn't think it was necessary. I mean,
Oh, okay.
we're buying, we may need to do it during design, but we don't need it to inform our purchase.
Okay.
So I think Michael may have a meeting with the city regarding some of the utilities, but it's really the financing.
Great,
Yeah.
okay.
The roof replacement, so we are proceeding with the replacement on that. There's more information, background in the October 6th packet on what was happening there, but basically we need a new roof. The estimate's $650,000. So, and we don't have, we'll be looking for funding for that, but in short, the money's sitting there in the building improvement fund, so we're gonna be pulling it out of there. Other side, financial assessment is moving full speed ahead. Deborah's been instrumental in working with Tiberius on that. We're hoping for just that's done the end of next month, and there would be a report to the board. The financial planning work sessions, so the first one was October 6th. Again, refer you to the meeting materials that were sent on that. It was a great meeting. It was 4 hours, but it felt like 1 hour. I can't believe how quickly that meeting went. The first hour was Deborah presenting the financials in more depth than you heard here today. The second hour was me providing a report out of a lot of outstanding projects that we just haven't been able to talk about in public, including the Tiberius report, which included the revenue generation strategies and the cost reduction strategies. And then we just threw everything on the table, which was a big part of the meeting. And then the last 2 hours of the meeting was essentially, and we provided some recommendations to the board. And then the end of the meeting was the board and the budget committee deliberating on what they had interest in proceeding with. And so what I'm doing now is I've taken all of that and I've created a matrix of, because it was too much to get into that meeting, what the priorities were. So kind of, what are you generally interested, what are you not interested in, and then we will take that, bring it back to the board and get their input on priorities. So I've created a matrix that has the strategies, the lead, high, medium, low level of staff hours, and high, medium, and low priority in general. And so with that, we'll be looking at presenting that to the board at the next work session, which is November 24th at 10:30 a.m. Again, November 24th at 10:30 a.m. It will not be 4 hours. The first one was just really long because we had a lot to get out on the table. This one is just scheduled for an hour. And then there were some items that were agreed to, at the October sixth work session, to go into a board order. Commissioner Bell just mentioned one earlier today about the department spending and contingency or getting approval to overspend. And so, depending on my capacity, that board order may or may not be done before that work session. So, back to your question, Sarah, how do we support? So, the executive team will see pieces of this as it's moving forward before it gets to the board. And additionally, I would encourage you guys to tune in. There's a lot that's gonna be happening. I know there's a lot of material, I know things, sometimes they move slow, sometimes they move fast, but I would really encourage you when you see any information on these topics, to tune in, because there's a lot of fluidity to this. A lot of this is new. We are evolving it. And we need everyone's input to make sure that this works. And even when we have something that we're implementing, there's gonna be things that we need to hear from you that it's not working and we need to adjust, because this is all somewhat uncharted territory and we want everybody's input along the way. So tune in. And then the financial reporting, mentioned that at the beginning of Deborah's presentation, that we'll have the leadership team monthly financials, the first Wednesday board meeting. It'll be the exact same presentation. So if you miss the leadership, you can tune into the board meeting. And then after we receive the quarterly revenues, not the projected, but the money is actually in the bank, we will be having quarterly work sessions with the budget committee, which is what this next November one is. So we could more actively manage the budget. That is what those meetings are for if needed. The leadership team and monthly board meetings is more of a report out. Not that we can't actively manage it and talk about changes, but that's not really the purpose of those meetings. I think that is it. Questions on what Central Services is working on? Or anything I missed that you want to hear about?
Great report and great body of work, thank you.
There's a lot of people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
May I hijack the agenda for a second?
Yeah.
I have another meeting in 5 or 10 minutes, but I wanted to ask Christy how NeoGov is working. Is that, am I saying it?
TaxMyGov.
Thank you, yes, TaxMyGov is working, and I wanted to, so will you please give us a little report? And then I wanted to ask Brandy also, if you would check out TaxMyGov in relation to emergency preparedness and emergency management. So our neighbors across the street at the city said that they're gonna use TaxMyGov for emergency management purposes, to send stuff out, to provide information, and it sounded like a great idea, and I thought, oh man, we should be doing that, so I wanted to start with you two.
It's, for us, I think it's going well. I think people are accessing it. We continue to see questions coming through for departments that aren't obviously utilizing it right now actively. And so, and then some of them are, people type, instead of just like one word, they type a whole question in with a question mark. And so when they pertain to our department, I just go in and it has their contact information. So I text them back. I can type in and just send them a direct text. But for us, it's working. I think it's answering questions, and I think people are getting, what they need. People are actively using it, but a lot of the interactions are, we get an email and something doesn't come through. And so we're getting a lot of those, and it says unable to answer the question. And it's usually for, what's my court date? Tell me about the case from 1995 for, this conviction or something. It's just things like that.
Can you forward those to the appropriate department? Is there a forward button? No.
No. I mean, someone would have to go in the log and look through all of those and figure it out. I mean, you can get the information and then send it to somebody to answer, or get a question or be answered by somebody. Someone could do that, but I don't have the time to do that outside of my office. I take care of mine. Cassandra takes care of hers, Matthew does. Yeah, and I don't know who's monitoring it outside of that. I don't know, I thought.
I'll see if Jeff was doing it.
Yeah.
Do you have any other updates you wanted to share before you leave?
To answer the question about the emergency management key, there is, because you can push out texts as well as, you can do like targeted ones. So they pull in the part of what we bought when we paid for that as the county was, a database of all the phone numbers, cell numbers in this area. They like do a data scour and they get all those numbers, and then it can be used for exactly that, in Civic, so you can use it that way. You can send them out and then just ask people to opt in, or you can just push out emergency management stuff to anybody that signed up or to that database of phones numbers that they have gathered in our area.
That's great. I think that could be so useful for us, so useful. And thank you, Rachel. I think I'll just briefly mention that emergency preparedness is my liaison responsibility. It's on my mind a lot. And we just got recently the updated information about how many people participated in the Great American Shakeout and the tsunami evacuation drill. And it was over 3,000, which is multiple times more than did last year. So that was thrilling. And it's just really, it's so important here. And it's important for us to have more and more tools, because Randy can't do everything. And, you know, he certainly can't communicate everything that people need, all the information people need. So I think that's really great. And I just want to give a little pep talk for a second and say, there are so many good things that are happening here. And I know that there are so many distressing things happening elsewhere in the world that I remind myself constantly about, but there are a lot of good things going on in our community that we're all participating in. And right here in the county, in county government, there's so many good things going on. So I'm grateful to know that all of us have the ability to make a difference in our community. That's what we have the power to do, and we're doing it. So thank you. Okay.
Sure, not a lot to report. We're on the home stretch for the middle housing code updates. The board has one last hearing on the economy on December 3rd. So then I promise I won't bug you guys for a bit. You won't have to suffer through any land use proceedings. We are welcoming Elizabeth Whipperman as our office specialist 2 today. So it's the expansion of the housing division. So that is a special revenue fund that's supported through short-term rental operator license fees. And we have so many good housing grant programs and different things that are happening between our grant programs, CERTA, the moderate income revolving loan fund that we are actually bringing on another staff person to help with the administrative duties of that. So she starts today. And other than that, we are seeing some things level out in terms of services and permitting volumes. But in talking to colleagues across the state, we are still one of the busier counties. And we have the most housing projects actually going on right now, which is really exciting. So that's it.
Do you have anything else to share?
I think I covered a lot, so I'm actually good.
Devin, do you have anything to share? No? Dan?
Yeah, I'll just take a couple minutes. First of all, good morning, everybody. Parks is we visited with the BOCC recently to talk about our passes for this next year. I think we're on a clear direction about what we're gonna do. And we're gonna go back to the hanger model instead of the stickers, and I think a lot of people will probably appreciate that. But we looked at everything, not only the type, but also you know, how they're sold, what the prices were, you know, the benefits and the cons of the different types that we presented. And so we're happy to get past that point, and now we're working on getting those ordered, and we'll start, they'll get those on sale on December 1st. We also, a little unusual thing, but we did what was called a fall festival. It was about a week before Halloween. We invited school groups to attend Barbie Jetty at the shelter. We had lots of games and prizes and kids dressed up. We had about 50 kids show up for the first event that we've ever had like that. So we're more than just parks. So that was great. We'll probably do it again next year. And then and I've shared this with Rachel already, but Kiwanda restrooms have been getting hit hard, about 3 times in the last month with graffiti. We're looking at ways to mitigate that, but we're still researching it and should have an answer pretty soon. And then the last thing we're doing that's also kind of not traditional for us is that we're working with the Nestucca High School Tourism and Hospitality Program. And we are participating as an active service in the community. As we've gone into their class twice to talk about parks. We've made it very fun, very interactive. And now their group, there's a small group expected to come out to Barview tomorrow to actually help build the campsite. So it's been a great experience. Even some of my naysayers on parks maintenance have gotten into it. And I'm glad to see that, but otherwise at this point we're working on park projects as we do every other non-season. So there we go, thank you. Yeah.
We rolled out the property recording alert system a month ago, so we have almost 200 people signed up to get alerts on when a property transaction happens in your name or a variation of names. So that's been good, we're excited, and we've got a lot of positive feedback for that. We just released, if you're on the clerk's page, recording inquiry, we now have book A through 91 on the historic viewer. So if you're wanting to search documents, you click on the historic tab. So book A through 91 are there, and then all of the indirect and direct indexes are all loaded. So people can do some searching from wherever they are for home. And now book 92 through 210 are set to hopefully be loaded in the next couple weeks. So we'll have all of our old books in a digital format online. And then working now, next up is our microfilm. So that's a huge project, but we've been working on that. And then we're gonna do Christmas themed weddings for the week of Christmas, that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, because we'll have the Christmas tree out there. So we're gonna advertise Christmas weddings at the courthouse. It's gonna be fun. It'll be Halloween next year, we do Valentine's Day. It's gonna be great.
Do you have election tomorrow?
We do not have an election tomorrow. That's the first November in a long time.
Wow.
Happy about it.
Yes.
Happy about it. Yes. But that allowed us last Wednesday, we went to Yamhill County because we're trying to look at modernizing our office because we do so many things from 1990 that are just so antiquated and processes are way out of date. And so we went and saw, they have, it's called a VBM system, but it scans the ballots and puts them in a batch and it captures their signature. And then it links with our voter system. So we go to the batch, it pulls everything up, and what takes us it takes us probably 2 hours to check about 300 ballots because we have to physically wand with a wand those barcodes on the ballot envelopes. This scans everything, you open the batch, and it brings the signatures up, and you just click accept. We don't ever have to touch those ballots again unless there's either a challenge signature or they didn't sign. And they were able to check 300 in 10 minutes. So it's just, yeah. So we're trying to look at things and options, and so that's what we've been spending since we don't have an election. That's what we did last week, which was fun.
Nothing much for the sheriff's office. Got a new deputy starting today. Which is nice. He's got experience coming from Iowa, 2 years experience. Bad part is I'm losing a deputy to fifth, so 1-for-1 trade. But other than that, not a whole lot going on.
We're busier in our office than we have been in a while. Sheriff's office and city police keeping us busy. And I'm kind of like Ani out at adult parole and probation. I also carry a caseload, and I was doing an intake meeting before I came down here this morning. So we're just we're doing our thing.
Okay, online. Jackie says she doesn't have anything. Marlene is heading to another meeting. They continue to work on financial forecasting and revenue production strategies. And Aubrey doesn't have any updates either. So who's left? Chris.
So last time I had significant updates, this time not so much. Weather, watch it. All the ground's now saturated. The rivers have some water on it. So king tides are coming up is the first week of December, which is a month from now. is when we historically see some floods. Although we do see some flooding this time of year when you look back in the history. So pay attention. We're also, everything's saturated, trees come down, little small slides happen all the place. If you're driving at night, pay attention. If your tires are bald, get new tires. That's about all I have.
Don,
Hello, everyone. We don't have a ton of updates for the library, but we're launching this month Ancestry.com officially. We've had it for a few months, but we're just getting out there with the press release and more information. That is going to be a new resource that is a little bit better for genealogy than what we have had. So I encourage everyone to come in and check it out. It's really impressive. You do have to be inside the library using either a library computer or connecting to the library Wi-Fi to use it. But on my dad's side of the family, I saw back over 200 years information I had no idea about, and it was easy to use and to find that information. So come on in and check that out. And then we also have the Manzanita branch is having its windows repaired and updated. So those will that's happening, I believe, through basically the rest of this month, and that's being done by the Friends of the North Tillamook Library Friends, and there may be some disruption throughout the month as they're going along with that, and we're going to be kind of working with it as they move through that project. And then last, at the very end of last week, got notification that we received $10,000 from the Roundhouse Foundation for the work that is going to be happening to remodel the teen space upstairs. That'll go through the Library Foundation, but we're really excited to see that acknowledgement from the Roundhouse of the work that is going to be happening there. And yeah, that's all for the library. Thanks.
Joel?
Good morning, everyone. I'll just echo what Christy and Rachel said earlier about Brian. Really excited for him and for us. Worked with him for 8+ years and very collaborative, really solid guy. So excited for that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Randy?
Oh, good morning. Just to fill you in a little bit on the Everbridge and the county employee notification. I'm meeting with Sarah Botmal, and we will be able to get all those names uploaded tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning into Everbridge. And as soon as we get them updated, I'm going to plan on sending out a few test alerts out just to make sure that it's working okay and that people are getting those alerts. And also to reemphasize what Mary Faith said about the Great Shakeout, we actually had 3,921 participate. And a lot of that is thanks to our school districts. Looking over the information, from up north in the Neoconi, there was about 500. Down south in Nestucca, looks like we had about 400, and the winner was Tillamook School District with a total of 2,300 students, faculty, and staff that responded. And that's thanks to the great push from our TC4 group to really hook in with all our school districts and get them involved more than just their normal earthquake drill. They actually did do some evacuations. So that went really well. Speaking of notifications, the state of Oregon has purchased another alerting program called Genesis. It's mainly used for wildland fire evacuation zones and setting that up. And everybody thinks it's wonderful. And I'm meeting with them on this Thursday to go over and see if that's something that's going to benefit our county. But I get a little concerned when we start having a whole lot of alerting systems, and we're bombarding people with a lot of different alerts from different systems. So got to make sure that it is going to work out okay with us, and if it is compatible with our existing system. So that's about all we got going. Again, just be careful of that of the weather, like Chris said, and they're actually predicting, Chris, that Fraser Road should get some water on it this week. So
That'll never happen, Randy.
no,
Fraser
it'll
never
never
gets water
happen.
on it.
Yeah, Fraser Road never gets water and has to get shut down, but so they're lying to us. So, but they're still not predicting, predicting up to 3 inches of rain this week. But again, if it comes over 2 or 3 days, the river should be okay. But I noticed Saturday they got pretty full. So, and we had about 3 inches of rain just on Saturday. So, looks like our monsoon, fall and winter weather is here. So again, just be careful out there and make sure you follow a lot of the weather locations that they're out there with the National Weather Service and different things that they have that you're able to access. So anyway, I'll turn it back to you, Rachel.
Thank you, Randy. And Paul.
Hey, I just wanted to quickly recap. One, I want to thank Deborah for that fantastic presentation and for simplifying this information. To echo what Matt was saying, it's nice to be able to kind of look at this and understand it at a higher level, and also understand that we are in control of these, and they're only numbers, and not to be afraid of them, and we can work our way through that. I want to thank her for that. I'm excited about Mackenzie's change of position. I think I'm really excited about a lot of things when it comes to these, how we're looking at these positions that are very hard. We've had a really hard time filling the director position. So I love that we're looking, to echo what Mary Faith said, I love that we're looking inward and identifying people in our departments that are ready and willing to step up and providing the training for them. If you look, it's really exciting for me. We've got Deborah doing that. We've got Mackenzie doing it, and we had Brandy doing that. And I just think that shows a commitment that we have as a county towards our employees. So I just wanted to put a spotlight on that. That's all I got. Text my gov. I am trying to get other departments to use it as well, Christy, and hopefully we can kind of use that more efficiently for the different departments. But that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, our next meeting is December 1st. Anything else? All right, you get 45 minutes back. Thank you, everyone.